can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Art of Political Discourse. Let's get right to it. As we know, or should be known, Mexico is up in flames and at odds with itself. Recently, cartel boss El Mencho was eliminated by the Mexican government. As a result of that, cartels have been laying traps or going to war, so they say, with the Mexican government. But I think it's a deeper issue than that. El Mencho being eliminated. There's a lot behind that. Some would say that it was because of the pressure from the United States government that they finally decided to go after the largest cartel boss in the area. But how do we get to this point? We can go as far back as 2025 dealing with this issue, the American government versus the government of Mexico, in terms of drugs coming out of Mexico and flowing into the United States. As early as 2026, the relationship between U.S. President Donald Trump and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, who took office in October 2024, is characterized by intense, high-stakes pressure regarding cartel violence, migration, and trade, marked by both public threats of intervention and private behind-the-scenes negotiations. That being said, while the relationship has been volatile, with Trump threatening tariffs and unilateral action, it has not resulted in a lateral formal invasion, but rather a series of intense confrontational policies aimed at forcing Mexico to act against drug cartels. Just to give you a brief breakdown in terms of how those issues and actions came to be, we had to start first with the relationship Claudia Sheinbaum and Donald Trump. The Trump whisper strategy, or is what they call it. Sheinbaum, who is a data-driven former scientist, adopted a strategy of balancing public defense of Mexican sovereignty with private, cordial phone calls and successions to avoid economic disruption. And one might add also the invasion of their sovereignty, because it is known that Donald Trump did threaten to set boots on the ground inside of Mexico to handle the cartels himself. After labeling cartels terrorist groups, Donald Trump did make the threat that he would invade Mexico with boots on the ground to go after these cartels, since Mexico would not. Well, what's surprising, there was surprising praise. Despite her left-wing policies, Trump had praised Sheinbaum as wonderful and highly intelligent. All the while, though, simultaneously calling her so afraid of the cartels she can't even think straight. What could be considered some of the key friction points to tension is driven by Trump's determination or demand that Mexico do more to stop fentanyl trafficking, threatening 30% tariffs on Mexican goods if they fail to produce concrete results. That being said, I guess Claudia Sheinbaum decided to take some type of action, and I think with the assistance of the United States military and its surveillance apparatus, they were able to locate El Mencho and eliminate him as a threat in terms of the drugs coming from Mexico into the United States, as well as the threat of cartels taking over Mexico. To assist me in this process of this piece, I have a clip I want to share with you guys. And this did occur Saturday. Today is Monday. That's okay. Let's get right to it, shall we?
Which many people would know. Ryan, good to see you. What did you see?
Hello.
What's happening right there now? Are you trapped?
And just for context, this is an American tourist, I imagine, in Mexico. They have them sheltered in there. The advice from the American consulate or the government to Americans in Mexico is that they should not come outside, stay inside, because they think that any American caught right now, in terms of what's going on in Mexico, life could be in the balance. So that was the advice from the American consulate of the American government to Americans or American tourists in Mexico.
We're essentially trapped. This morning, We were actually, my partner and I were supposed to be flying out of Puerto Vallarta back to Vancouver. And we were actually notified by a friend of ours, because we're in an Airbnb that kind of faces to an inner courtyard. So it's fairly quiet where we are, only to find out from our friend about exactly what was going on. No sooner did we do that, we went outside and checked through from the rooftop, because we weren't allowed out the front door, that there were multiple fires going on in Puerto Vallarta, including where I am in the Zona Romantica, which is the old town Puerto Vallarta.
Right. So have you been told by your airline that they are still running flights out of there? I mean, what's the advice from the authorities?
At this point, my understanding from the local airport authority that all flights have now been canceled. It was actually the carriers themselves that were canceling flights first. But the airport actually, when I'm following them, was actually saying that they're open. Just allow extra time to get here. Since then, all of the major carriers, the Canadian carriers that I know of anyway, have all canceled their flights into tomorrow so far. And I'm hearing some people aren't getting reservations now or rebookings until at least Thursday, if not farther into the future. And that's if this unrest that's currently occurring kind of winds down.
Wow.
Just to give a little more context in terms of the piece, he labeled it unrest. It's more than that. I think it's the situation is greater or more dire than unrest. What you have is what the American government has labeled the cartel as a foreign terrorist organization, FTO designation. Back in February 2025, the Trump administration did officially designate major Mexican cartels such as the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, the CJNG, as a foreign terrorist organization. This provided a legal, though disputed, framework for the U.S. to use military force directly on American soil, and that's where the issue of sovereignty came in. And Claudia Sheinbaum and Trump did not agree in terms of how to deal with the cartels. Trump wanted to take it upon himself, use the U.S. military as a means to go inside a sovereign nation, Mexico, and dismantle the whole cartel system. She pushed back, like, no, we're not going to do that. As a result, Trump said, okay, I'm going to threaten you with tariffs, 30% or even higher, probably at one point. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of Claudia Sheinbaum doing something about the cartels just to keep their sovereignty intact, to keep the United States from invading sovereign soil to take care of a problem that most say it's not just the problem or the cause of Mexico and its cartels, but it's also the demand here in the United States for such drugs, fentanyl to be, one of those drugs, meth, marijuana, and others. But this thing may spiral or continue to spiral out of control. It's yet to be seen whether or not the cartels will retaliate for the elimination of El Mencho.
I haven't been where you are right now, but it's certainly a beautiful place of the world. Many tourists go there, and Mexico has always tried to keep the cartels and the tourists separate. And the cartels, I guess there's this kind of unwritten law that tourists are off limits. It's an important part of the economy. But this seems to be a point at the moment where worlds have collided. We're hearing reports of burnt out buses, burnt out cars, but not just the one or two we're showing you right now on the screen, but littered all the way from where you are, which would be the main thoroughfare to get to the airport. Have you heard anything about that?
I have heard about that, and apparently this is all part of their strategy to stop people from stopping people movement. And I've seen while I was up on the roof, there was actually a point where I saw a group of people on motorbikes that actually pushed a car into one of those intersections here in Old Town and set it alight, as well as the bus that was right next to the OXXO, which is a local kind of corner store supermarket, which I understand a whole bunch of them were actually targeted throughout the city. And just before I went live on air with you guys, I was hearing helicopters overhead, and a friend of mine who was also supposed to be flying home today, who's at a hotel nearby, has just let me know that the local pharmacy, the big one that's in Old Town here, has also now been set ablaze and is currently on fire as well.
Ryan, thanks so much for bringing us, joining our live broadcast today and bringing us some insights there, because it is hard to get information out of Mexico.
Okay, yeah, that is something to be seen. Again, keep in mind that this, I think, is a continuing developing issue. One thing that Mexico does has in favor is that there have been secretive drone operations being conducted inside of Mexico with the assistance of the CIA. They have been doing drone flights over parts of Mexico to identify cartel drug labs, also maybe to follow and survey certain individuals in the cartel throughout the Mexican area, or throughout areas in Mexico where these cartels thrive or where their members live. Also, there was or had been, a word that a troop and surveillance buildup was in the making or had been established. The Trump directed the Pentagon to use military force against cartels, leading to increased U.S. Northern Command surveillance and special operations planning. So this is a big operation, and I have to think that this went off with the assistance of the United States military, because typically Mexico versus the cartels is pretty much an even fight, to have El Mencho eliminated, it speaks to assistance or Mexico having some type of help in order to pull that off, because otherwise we don't think, or it isn't thought, that that would be something they can do on their own. They've had to have more than likely assistance, not just drone surveillance from the CIA, also military advisors, things of that nature, to where they were able to pull that off and eliminate cartel boss El Mencho. Okay, and that is the news for all for the art of political discourse. Take care of yourselves and each other.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.